joining us from the city of Ib in Yemen. So it's a very, very bleak picture that is painted in Yemen. Before we get into the details of the humanitarian situation, can you comment on the reports that the UN has put out that child soldiers are being recruited in the war, mainly by the Houthis? How prevalent is this?
Well, I have seen with my own eyes today as I was travelling from Ib and trying to get into Taiz, children on the checkpoints, which we have to go through very regularly as a convoy, and as young as what appeared to be 10 years old, let alone 15, in uniform, carrying guns, sometimes not in uniform, and stopping the vehicles at the checkpoints. So whilst that's not as a combatant, certainly it is recruited into the armed force. It's objectionable, it's wrong, it's against all international humanitarian and other laws of rights, and particularly rights of children, and we condemn it absolutely by all parties who to practice any kind of child recruitment. It's got to be stopped, and we will make very loud noises to try and persuade them to do just that.
You've also tweeted yourself that you were denied access on the front line from Ib, from where you're talking to us from, in fact, to Taiz City. Taiz City, NGOs say, has suffered severe shortages due to a blockade. Can you tell us why you were denied access and what you're hearing about the humanitarian situation there?
Well, we did secure well in advance assurances from all parties in order to go from Ib to Taiz, which until recently was very much cut off, and there have been some supplies getting in, but we understand there to be very severe humanitarian needs in Taiz, and it's important that we find the routes to get the access that we need as humanitarians to get the food, the water, the blankets, the medicines, everything that is needed when people are very, very severely affected by the conflict that continues here in Yemen. And unfortunately, when we got to the final checkpoint, we were denied access, and we had to retreat to safer ground to carry out negotiations, which unfortunately came to no successful results, so we had to turn around and come back, and I did not manage to get into Taiz City. This will force me to look and explore all other options to reach Taiz City from the south, as well as from here, Ib, which is closest to Taiz, because it is our duty, it's absolutely vital that we reach all the people in need. All the parties to the conflict have to make sure we have that access, and as has been announced, Yemen is already, and as you have reported, a very poor country before the conflict, and now exacerbated by this continuing unresolved conflict, there is a very severe risk of famine. And we have
Speaking
more
of famine,
IDPs,
which is what I wanted to ask you about, is Yemen at the stage of a famine right now? Because we've been hearing the word famine over the past couple of months, and I'm just looking at a news wire right now, the ICRC saying that the food supplies would last 2 to 4 months.
And let me be very clear. You're absolutely right. Whenever the use of the word famine is raised, it of course rightly raises alarm bells. What the United Nations, what I have done, and the Secretary General put out a week last Tuesday, is to alert the world that we can see the conditions, that unless we step up now with the resources from the world community to support the United Nations and all our implementing partners in the international and national NGOs to avert the famines which we can see coming straight at us in Yemen, in South Sudan, in Nigeria, northeast Nigeria, and the Lake Chad Basin, and in Somalia. And we have this chance by announcing this early, before we actually get into the technical word of famine, which has been declared in a part of South Sudan. And that is why we need this access. We need the resources of the world community to step up now. And it's my mission, and I won't be deterred, to advocate for the people through no fault of their own who are facing these extreme and serious humanitarian conditions. And that's why we have a chance to avert a famine, but we need the cooperation of all the parties of the conflict to let us have access. And today's experience has not been encouraging, but I will not be deterred. We must get those resources to the people who need them, and we must do that impartially in compliance with international humanitarian law.
You've also asked for the international community for $2.1 billion in aid. That was in 2016. And as often with these appeals, Stephen O'Brien, they're not fulfilled. Why is that? And especially when it comes to Yemen.
Well, the international community last year was more generous in supporting humanitarian needs than ever in history, but unfortunately the enormous number of humanitarian crises around the world, and particularly these man-made, unresolved, conflict-driven crises,
Stephen O'Brien,
one upon the other.
Many apologies, but we're just coming up to the top of the hour, so I'll just have to leave it there for now. But thank you very much for joining us and speaking to us.